Excellent. Did you have fun during the break? Yes, that's good, that's good. Who met new people already? Please clap. Almost everyone. That's excellent. Who met like people who you've kind of like been introduced in RoboCon and haven't seen a while? Met new, like old friends. Good. That's nice. I like to see that, and it's super nice to see all of you here. Please give a big hand to yourself, like you're here. We're going. Yeah. And also at this moment, I'd like to thank the sponsors. They make this whole event possible, so let's clap for them too. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Soon we'll have our first proper talk. About that, I'd like to ask a few questions from you. Please clap if you use AI weekly in your work. Yeah? How about daily? From those who are using it daily, please clap if you use a paid version of the AI. So that's maybe 10 people, okay. That's interesting because the next talk is about pros and cons of generative AI in robot framework. Are you excited? Yes? Okay, let's kickstart the whole day and bring on the stage David Fogel. Please give a warm welcome to David.
Hello, RoboCon. It's so good to be back again with all this community. And as it was said, it's great to meet the people that you were introduced last year, to meet your friends again. So today, I want to talk about the AI. And it's quite controversial topic in the QA community because the QAs are kind of picky about the tools that they use. So I want to show you how we use AI, how we introduce it into our business, and how you can use that for testing, for data generation, for tutorials, or anything you find useful. So, why we are not using the AI and LLMs that much in the QA community? Like, some of you clap that you are using it weekly, daily. Few of you, including myself, we use it in paid versions, so the most modern features that it can offer. But still, why we are not using it broadly? Well, because it's still early stage. And we, in the QA, are looking for tools that are vetted, that are good, that provide good results, and maybe that do not hallucinate because we hear about it all the time. So, yeah, it doesn't give exact results. Definitely, if you are using the unpaid versions, for example, in ChatGPT, the 3.5 model, that's really bad. So if you would try the 4 version, that's much better, and it will give you much better results. But I'm not a salesperson for OpenAI here. I just will show you several features that you can use, and that can make the whole experience much better. So, last thing to mention, we already talked about with few people, there are restrictions. There can be restrictions within your companies that you are not allowed to use AI tools. But these restrictions will come to pass eventually. As the AI will be more broad, it will be brought to the companies. You will either have your own AI agents, or you will be using some cloud-based versions. So eventually, it will reach us. So we will look today how we can leverage the situation when it comes. So from my personal experience, I love to use AI. I started to use that in February, and from that time, I'm using it daily. Off topic, I created also AI startup in summer, so we are working on AI stuff. We are doing digitalization 2.0, and we are integrating companies into AIs and creating chatbots. So how do I see the AI? Well, it's my personal assistant. It can help me write code using GitHub Copilot or other features, or I can create custom chatbots. Already with the existing tools, on few clicks in the paid versions, I can create my own chatbot with my own knowledge base. So from the robot framework side, I can include maybe my whole project and ask them about the keywords. I can create a chatbot for my junior members, and the AI can explain how we are writing the code, what should be the correct structures. So we will go through this little story of how do I use AI in the tests, and let's start with an example. And this will be really just a journey for example, imagine manual tester going in and testing features. So first, I have my own container QA AI chatbot. This chatbot is set up in a way that the AI should know that it's a QA engineer. So I'm setting up the bot. You are a QA engineer, you help me write manual tests, you help me write automation tests. Also, I want you to look at edge cases, because anytime we test some features, there can be edge cases, there can be problems within the application that I might oversee. Also, I want you to help me find issues, report bugs if I find something, and maybe help me write repro steps. So, let's try it. I have an application. It's called Optima AI. It's one of our applications that we are working on. Well, and I want to test registration. It's a simple form, so I have several inputs, I have some checklists, checkboxes, and I have a button. Well, so let's give it to the AI to see what it thinks. And I can pass the screenshot. So with the paid versions, or in GitHub Copilot in Edge, you can work with images. So I can just paste a screenshot like this directly from my Mac and tell the AI, hey, this is my test case. Let's work on it. Let's test it. And my prompt is really not that good. The context that I'm giving is really bad. So let's see what it will give me. It will give me a lot of things. So I will get functional tests, I will get the usability tests, some security testing, and the edge case testing. But yeah, this is a lot of text. So what can we do with this? Like, it's a long output. Well, we can create a checklist. We can create a checklist based on what the ChatGPT gave me, and it can guide me so that I don't forget about certain functionality. So that when I'm testing it manually, when I'm drafting the testing scenario, I can go just check, yes, it works. And it can help me also to think about the edge cases and what we can do. So let's try it on one example. I have an email input validation. So as we all know, there is just an input and I can put in emails. So what I should test with this particular thing? Well, I want to check that it works first with correct emails. I want to check invalid emails. I probably want to check that the messages that I'm getting are okay. Well, and maybe I wouldn't test it, but it also tells me, hey, you should test long values. So will it break the application? Will it break the database? Maybe I would not test it in a basic way. So I will start doing that. I will ask ChatGPT, okay, let's start to work. And it gave me some valid emails and invalid emails. And if we look at the data, some of those valid addresses, for example, like the last one with IPv6, this will definitely break our application at the moment. I don't think we have a validation for that. But from the standpoint of, is this a correct email? Yes, it is. But I would not test it properly. And also, there are multiple ones, like with using plus, using subdomain, and etc. And also, we have all the invalid ones. So with all those characters that can break our application. So this is something that you can get on 2 clicks. You just write the prompt and you have it. You don't need to have a list somewhere. You don't need to have some data prepared. And the answers will be always a little bit different. So if you check emails, if you will do it in a week, the emails will be slightly different, which is also good to validate. And now, what I can do next? Well, I want to create an automation test. So what do? Well, I download the HTML page with all those tags, with all those locators in, and I give it to the ChatGPT, hey, let's create a robot framework test with all those locators. And let's see what it will give us. So we have a basic structure. We are using Selenium library. Sorry, browser, but yeah, ChatGPT still thinks that Selenium is ruling the world. Yeah, I know, but the data don't lie. Correct. So, we see that we have the variables, so it found also the URL address, it selects several email addresses that we can use, and it also, for example, found the locator for the error. And for the input, yeah, we have it in the keywords. So this is all generated from the ChatGPT. I just put it on different slides. So we have the keyword, it will open a browser, it will open Chrome, it will maximize the window, and then it will wait until the input email is there. And also I have a submit form keyword already created so I can click on something. And this is directly from that HTML page. I did not have to look for it, I did not have to check the XPath or find them. It did what it could to find it from the HTML file. And also we have the test cases. So this is really basic test. I gave it one page, I gave it one HTML, and it generated all of this. But if I will try to run this test, it will fail, definitely, because I did not give it what can happen after I register. Right now, it just thinks that it should contain a success message. But maybe that's not the case. Definitely not for our application, because if you click sign in, you go to different page. But if I would explain this to the AI, if I would give in to the 2 pages and I would say, okay, you get from this page via this button to this second page, this will be the result, it would help, it could generate the test much better. But we don't have to use it just for the webs. I can use it also for the databases. And yes, I'm lazy. So screenshot of database table. Hey, so the user should be created there. I will pass it to the ChatGPT like this. I gave it also, yeah, this is the connection string. So you can log in and you can create me the test. And this is the result. So it will also create me the keywords, how to access the database. It will generate the SQL query based on an image, based on what it could see. Like definitely if you have bigger tables, it will be much better to download the spec or download the CSV of the database, if we can, if it doesn't contain some private data. Like here there is nothing really, except the emails, but if it's within our company, that's fine. And we can generate really simple tests. So for someone who is new to Robot Framework, that doesn't know how to write proper database tests or the web tests, this is really good, and it can kickstart their project. And yes, the test cases. So one with valid email, and it also generated one with invalid on its own. I did not write it to it. But these are simple tests. What we can also do with it, we can validate the tables. So I can just quickly generate some validation tests. I can give it specs for the tables and give it, okay, this is some table with social media URLs. I just want you to go through all those pages and get me that if it's really valid, if all those still apply. The same thing can be for the types. So it sees that I have 2 input fields there, and it will validate that they are numbers. So databases. The same can be for the APIs. So again, we have an application, simple ChatGPT service. It has a Swagger, so it has an API spec. And of course, I can use it and send it to the ChatGPT like this. And again, ask, hey, create me something. Get me something to work with. Let's kickstart the project. And I have an endpoint directly generated with both session on. I have the session, I have some basic data inside of that, and I can build on top of it. Also, if I would, for example, tell it, I like to work with APIs the same way like I will work with Selenium. So I like to create page objects, even for API for the endpoints. So I could just tell it, ChatGPT, hey, went through the spec and generate me like the simple keywords or the simple tests for that spec. Really simple, really quickly. We could also use it for maintenance. If we give the spec, if we give it the resource file and tell it, does it still apply or do I need to do some maintenance? Comment me the parts of the code of that resource file where it won't apply, where it won't work, and how can I fix it? and it can directly tell me how to do that. So how to use all of this? And I will go a little bit into the workshop that I was giving on Tuesday about integrating AI with robot framework and a little bit with Jira as well. So we were having kind of fun. So first, you can find this project on my GitHub. So you can download it, you can look through it. Everything is posted there, what we did on the workshop. So what were our requirements, what we were building? Well, on Python, on the robot framework, we are using listeners. We are using the OpenAI library that is available from the OpenAI. And we were using the Jira library to connect to online Jira. And what were our goals? Well, first, we wanted to enrich our robot framework logs. So for example, you are running a test, it fails. So this fail, we send to the ChatGPT, hey, provide us with a better response, some description that we can put into the log. So when the user opens the log, on the top, we did it in a warning, they can immediately see what is the problem in human readable form. So if, for example, a business analyst will open that, they will understand probably what's going on. It won't be element stale exception like we did. Like, what is that? Nobody will understand it except the developer that is working on it. So this was one part. The second part, we wanted to create custom assistant. It's a functionality within the ChatGPT that you can build your own chatbot. And you can communicate with this chatbot, you can send it files, you can feed it, you can feed it the knowledge of that chatbot, and then you can ask questions. But I will come to that. We also wanted to connect it to Jira. So we just wanted, okay, this is a failing test. Let's create a maintenance ticket directly in Jira under some epic so that the developers can look on it. And we also wanted to do like this kind of automation. So if there is already a maintenance ticket created for this test because it's failing, just add a comment to the Jira. Hey, it happened again. It happened with something different. So the implementation. Some of you may know listeners. If you don't, so in listener, we can tap in to any event like start test, end test, start keyword, end keyword. In this case, we are tapping to the end test, and we are checking whether the test failed. In case it failed, we built the custom assistant inside the ChatGPT environment. And then, because we were working with Selenium, we do this really neat trick. So we source the Selenium library that is running because the test is still open. So the HTML is also open where it failed. We get the source, put the source into a file, well, and like we saw before, feed the file to the ChatGPT with that error message, which was, for example, failed locator because it couldn't find it. So the ChatGPT can offer us how we can do the maintenance. How can we fix it? So we continued on. We had also a connection with the Jira, so we are checking whether there is if the task or the test already exists within the Jira. So we use the attributes long name, which contains the test suite name and the test name. So this should be unique. And then we check whether this test was found or not. If this was found, means that there is already logged ticket. Well, we will do some description like, okay, I found this issue, check the description. If it's the same, just comment, hey, this happened again. If it's not the same, hey, log me that there is a different bug in the system. So, and make it in a comment. Then, if it's not found, we just generate the message. So it's all about how we set up the queries to the OpenAI itself. Then we send the message with additional parameters. I want to also have the keywords that were executed, so the list of which keywords passed, where it failed, and which were ignored. And then we will just create the Jira issue or add the comment. And how does this look in the end? Well, in Jira, we have something like this. So because we tell it also, write it in a Jira format, so I have this really nice description. I have the summary, what happened. I have the description, and I have the steps to reproduce. And this is because we also fed it all those keywords which passed, where it failed, and which were ignored. So it's all inside of this. And then I went and wanted to put it to the GitHub. Yes, I'm lazy, I know. So I took all those files, and I needed to generate the README. So I just gave it the files and tell it, hey, go through this code, generate me a README file for this project. And it did just the thing. So it told me, okay, I will create it. These are all the files that you provided. And it will have this kind of structure. And you can see it now on that GitHub. So this is purely generated from that AI. It's here. It has some bugs. I did not fix it. So there is not the whole installation. What libraries do you need? So it's missing something. I did not play with it. I wanted something fast. And I wanted to showcase like what else we can do. And so where does this bring us? Well, with Robot Framework, or Robot Framework Foundation, we had this idea. How to bring the AI to everyone. How to bring it to you. So, for example, when you are on the docs.robotframework.org, where we have great documentations and guides, how we could include also a chatbot directly on the page. So whenever you are a junior or you have a question about a new functionality, for example, how the try except work and how should I write it, you can go to that page, open the chatbot, and you can communicate with that. So we started to build something like that. This is early stage, but it's exactly the same thing. It's currently on the ChatGPT platform, and we fed it all those different libraries that we currently have on a page. There can be much more libraries. Like this is the basics that we took from the documentations. But these are the latest ones. If we will also include the other libraries with different versions, we can also work with different versions of those keywords and files. So how does the outcome look? So like I said, try except. Simple question, explain me how try except work. It will explain how it works, it will show me the keywords that I can use, and it will also go and explain each of those keywords that I'm using. And the best thing, if you want to try that, if you have the paid GPT, you can just scan this code. If you don't, come to us at the Continental booth. It's part of our gamification. So you can come in, you can type whatever you want about the ChatGPT. If we will find something that doesn't work, it's great for us because we know what we should include. We already had a discussion about generating test data at our booth. So these are the things that we are looking for. And one more thing. We are building or starting to build an AI library based on OpenAI. So we want to create a wrapper for you. We have 2 interns at the moment. We will be kickstarting the project after RoboCon. And the goal is to wrap up this OpenAI library and to give you the option, for example, to generate test data. So you want to generate unique addresses with postcodes. You want to generate unique email addresses. You don't need to use the faker that will give you some mock-up results, but the ChatGPT will give you exact results. So it will give you also the postcodes, and they will really work. So this is something that we want to include. And we have several more ideas that we would like to bring in. And we are open for discussion. We created a Slack channel, AI Robot. So if you feel like it, join us. We can discuss there the usage of AI in Robot Framework. We will also be showcasing our progress for this library. And definitely, if you want to contribute, if you want to be part of the project, we are welcome for you to join us. So, on this note, that's all from my talk. Thank you, everyone. I hope I brought a little bit of controversy into the Robot Framework, into the testing about the AI. And let's have discussions. Thank you. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, David. Please use Slido or raise your hand. We have mics here. If you have any questions at that time, please raise and the mic will be passed on. I have one point about the library you build. You can send the ChatGPT queries there. One thing that I've been using ChatGPT is that there are some cases that are kind of hard to automate with code, especially for a person that doesn't really know how to code. But ChatGPT can actually kind of analyze those, and we can use that to automate some. Like, for example, you have a test result, which is a PDF or an image or like a lot of text that you don't understand, and we can kind of like figure out with ChatGPT, does the test pass or not? So maybe also, in addition to generating tests, we can use that to kind of like check the results.
Yes.
Any questions?
Yep. Okay, thank you, David, for the great talk. And there were a lot of process, of course, like pluses. But what about cons? And you haven't talked about it too much.
That's true. Mainly because I wanted to showcase all the functionality, and there is really a lot. So when I was building the presentation, yes, about the cons. So the ChatGPT is not exact. That's what we showcased at the start. So if you ask it a question, it will always give you a different answer, like semi the same and maybe not. The problem is also using the unpaid versions. Like, it's always good to use the most modern ones. The 3.5 that is out there in a free version is there from last year in spring. In April, the GPT-4 came up, and it's much better in this case. So regarding the cons, I would be afraid, or not afraid, but you need to have a critical thinking always about the AI. And it's like in the real world. I'm reading the news. I need to critically think if this is correct or not. The same thing goes with the ChatGPT. It can help you. It can generate the code. You can use GitHub Copilot, but you always need to be there. You need to oversee. You can't just take the result and commit it to the code because it can be bad. So for some tech cases, like we showed today, like creating test cases, like those simple ones, it's good. But for those complex test cases, for the code generation, it needs more context.
Thanks for the question. Then there's one somewhere there, I think.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. I have a question about confidence in tests. Like, for me, tests are not only having lots of things that turn green, which I believe AI is capable of, but also building confidence in knowing that my code does what I want it to, or that it's secure, and then providing that confidence for like my clients. How do you do that with AI? Like, after you see all those green lights, do you feel confident? And if not, what is your process to become confident in the results?
So there was a great talk. I don't know if it was last conference or the one before that. That those green lights, those passing tests are the worst thing that can happen to you because you don't really know what's happening, because you don't look on the passing test. It can hide information. It can, for example, hide information that the keyword execution time went from 30 seconds to 1 minute. So this is what's being hidden. So yes, you can do analysis. This is also where we were trying to utilize the ChatGPT options, like to get, for example, the output XML and go through the whole execution in analytics way, search for those differences, different execution times. But yeah, it's hard. You always need to be there for it. You can't just take the code. Like, you would not take intern code and put it into production. You would not do that. You would check it. So I see this.
Some people would.
Well, yeah. Some people will, but the company won't be there for long, probably. So yeah, I think you really need to be there. You need to oversight it always.
And I think how you build the confidence in humans. Like, it's the same thing. It's just like, this is a new thing and we don't completely trust it and we shouldn't. But I think critical thinking there is good. Then there's a few questions from Slido. How secure it is to upload HTML files, database details, API contracts to AI?
Well, depends. Is that page that you are testing in production, is it accessible from the internet? Well, then everybody can read that. For the database data, well, that's kind of shady. So it always depends. I'm using here the paid version of ChatGPT, which in the license tells me we won't be using your data. Are we trusting Microsoft that they are not checking the private GitHub repositories? Well, we do. We have private repositories there. So I see it the same way. And if we build our own OpenAI server, for example, in Azure, well, that's within our network. It's not accessible to the internet. Nobody can have access to it. So there are definitely ways how to make it more secure. But yes, these were just the examples working with the cloud version.
Let's take one more question. Was there one there?
Yeah, me. About the OpenAI library, have you considered using open source LLM models, or will you support changing the API, like using something else than the OpenAI API?
So really good question. And yes, this is what we would like to do. We would like it to be open. Probably it might be a different library, like having one for the OpenAI and maybe having a different library with similar things for the open source models. So yes, I think that this is definitely a thing that we would like to do. But first we would start on the OpenAI because it's much simpler. And also anyone can quickly join to the OpenAI. But definitely this is something we would like to do in the future.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Let's give a warm lot of applause to David. Excellent talk, excellent talk. Thank you, David.